Welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV, the only place to be for your matchday content. And it's the big one tonight. The Champions League is back at White Hart Lane, where it belongs. The stadium was made for nights like this. And we are facing Villarreal tonight. And I've got two young men with me to do the pump up. I've got the guy that's always with me, actually. He's like my right arm. We've got Jimbo in the house, and we've got the lovely Harry Scarf as well. Jimbo, first of all, how are you? How are you doing?
Excellent, thank you. The quad is on.
The quad is on until it's not. And Harry, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to getting into it. Great to be back in the Champions League. It feels very, very good.
It does. You know what? I can't wait to hear that music. It always gives me goosebumps. But look, we've got Villarreal tonight. We've got the dilemma that Thomas Frank faces of who he's going to play up top with Kolo Muani back in the, well, not back in, but set to possibly make his debut tonight. Harry, I'm going to get straight into it and ask you, who do you think he's going to start up front tonight?
I'm quite confident in thinking it'll be Richarlison, just the way that Frank speaks after that West Ham win in terms of, he says we had that opportunity to rest Richarlison, talks about the amount of kilometres, he ran and played for Brazil. So for me, I get the impression that it was, if West Ham was a case of resting rather than rotation, which surprised me a little bit, just the way that Frank's speaking. I might be looking at it the wrong way. It's always difficult sometimes to understand what he's 100% saying. I find him very interesting to listen to. I think Muani, it would be quite big to throw him in from the start. I think that could be quite unexpected, I would say. Anyway, who knows with Frank with Tottenham? It's a different team, different ideas every game, as he admits himself. But I think Muani will be introduced from the bench. Having said that, Champions League experience is Kolo Muani. PSG, Juventus, it's him. So if you're going to throw him into a game, no better than tonight. I do think Richarlison, though, will lead the line if I did have to predict.
Yeah, look, I'm with you, Harry. I think Richarlison will start tonight, but we will see Muani. Jimbo, you have the same agreement, or do you see him starting Muani? As Harry said, he's got plenty of Champions League experience.
Well, I rested Richarlison, so I would say he's going to start. And depending how the game goes, is bring Muani on. If we need to go, even if we don't, if we're 2 up or 3 up or 4 up, then bring him on for a run out.
I mean, talking of being 3-0 up, 4-0 up, Harry, what did you make of the West Ham game at the weekend? Obviously, it's so nice to just see a drama-free, comfortable win from Spurs. What did you make of the game?
Totally is. Very happy, if I'm honest with you, Kate. I think it was a very good performance, total control, total dominance. And of course, that red card for Souček, it's not what West Ham want, of course, but I don't think it has a huge impact on the game. Of course, West Ham have to sit back a little bit more, and it does make it easier, but also it makes it harder for us because we can't break them down. It makes it easier in terms of West Ham are never going to get back in the game or get anything from the game at that point unless something catastrophically goes wrong. But no, really impressive performance. Again, good in both departments. And what's crucial is set pieces. And, a lot of us will, have a moan at Arsenal or, will not want to be a team that is just good at set pieces. Of course, need to be good in open play as well. It's really important. But set pieces win you games and they lose you games. So it's really important to be good at them. And long throws were good at them. I think Frank quickly identified, and again, the way he spoke pre-match, but in particular post-match, identifying that West Ham are good at set pieces. They haven't been ever since Graham Potter walked through the door, or even before that as well, last season. So an ongoing issue, West Ham defending set pieces. We've been very good at them. And to be honest with you, I think we should have had another that stood from a corner, which is frustrating. Can't get my head around that. I'm sure we'll touch on that in a minute. But no, really happy, Kate. And what starts the season as well. You've got 3 clean sheets in there, just 1 goal conceded, 8 goals scored, 3 wins from 4. So that's 9 points from a possible 12. It literally is a very perfect start. Nearly. It's a very, very good start. So very impressed and a good win. It's always nice to beat West Ham in their cup final too.
It certainly is. I mean, Jimbo, there was lots of positives to take from the West Ham game. I mean, I thought Romero, I know I've been gushing about it on our channel, but that ball that he played through to Bergvall was exquisite. Bergvall was sensational on the day. Sarr had another good game. Van der Ven. I mean, any one thing you're taking from that game particularly?
The long ball from Romero wasn't the only one he done that game. He done a couple of others as well that were spot on. There's a lot to take from that game, Kay. The main thing for me is the togetherness of this group of players. You can see that they're playing for each other. If you watch the training, you know I watch a lot of the training, and they're training. They were out there in the pissing rain, and they had smiles on their faces. You know, they just seem to be really together. I don't think it's just Frank that's done that. I think that when Ange was there, that they were quite close to players. I think winning that trophy probably helped bring them together as well. But they seem to be really together, and you know what it's like if you're in a team sport. If everyone's good friends and you're fighting for each other, you're going to do a lot better than if you're not. So I take that out of it. There were some great performances against West Ham, and look, we should be beating West Ham 3-0. I'm sorry, but we're a much, much better team than them this year with the new players we've brought in. So I expect the same tonight, another 3-0.
Wow. Early score prediction there from Jimbo. I mean, Harry, are you surprised just how much things have changed under Thomas Frank so quickly? I mean, I think we all were kind of excited about this guy coming in. He's a very, very good coach. But are you surprised it's kind of like day and night watching this team compared to what we were watching last season, even to the set pieces? I mean, Ange made it clear he wasn't bothered about set piece coach. But already, I mean, to me, it's been such a huge impact that Thomas Frank's had on the team. I just wonder what you thought.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm not surprised, but I think he's done a fantastic job. And it's easy for me to say now that I'm not. But at the time when Ange left the club, I was a bit worried. Where does the club go next? We've got rid of a proven winner. What can we do? How can we stop players leaving? And where I really want to give Thomas Frank credit is that we've had no real kind of, that we know of, uproar of players wanting to leave. Son's the only one I think that we sold, permanently. There's not many others in Gill in the end as well. So, yeah, not many. And that was a real worry. The likes of Romero is going to walk out. Well, he's actually signed a new deal and been made club captain. I think he obviously dealt with that situation absolutely perfectly. Probably had a private conversation with him, pinned him in. So Frank's done a great job, and what could have been a really difficult transition time for the club. And let's be honest with you, this summer we've seen more change than any other club that I can think of anyway, at least in the Premier League. And we've coped with that extremely well. So if the question was, am I surprised at how well the club on the and off the pitch, in particular on the pitch, has coped with all the change? Absolutely, very, very surprised. But so as a Frank himself, having watched him manage Brentford and do a fantastic job, I think we knew as Spurs fans, as much as we either liked or disliked Ange, I'd personally say liked, then we knew that Frank is a very good coach. We knew that his in-game management would be better. We knew that there'd be more input from the touchline and just key things like set pieces. Am I surprised how quickly we have all of a sudden become immense at set pieces, or how quickly we've become defensively secure? Yes, I am. But I always thought that we'd get here. But to answer your question, I am surprised how quickly we've got there and just how good we're doing ultimately, 4 Premier League games in. So it's very good. They're going to be blips though, like against Bournemouth, because Frank's a manager and I find it really interesting. I've listened to him several times as Brentford manager, and even before that on Monday Night Football, and listened to his kind of both pre and kind of post-match interviews and press conferences, and basically he comes up with a new plan every game. I know managers adapt their plan, but he completely rips it up often, even when it works, and starts again from the drawing board. So I remember listening to his going in the car and listening to what he had to say before the Bournemouth game. He's like, "It's the new game plan. Speaking about it with the coaches, we haven't quite tried this before." They admitted recently that you got it completely wrong, and he felt that he can change it during the game. So there's goods and bads of that. Keep the opponent guessing, keep us fans guessing with the team sheet, with the formation, with the tactics. Gives us something to talk about as content creators. But he's full of change. But to answer your question without going on too much, which I have, then Frank, excellent job. Really impressed with him.
Yeah, he took me by surprise. A lot of chat today, Jimbo, or the last couple of days. The midfield, obviously, we've got to manage Palhinha's minutes. I mean, we've already seen it. I don't even think this guy's fully fit yet. And already the impact that he's had on this squad has been tremendous. But are you of the opinion, as a lot of content creators and pundits are, that he might rest Palhinha tonight and start Bentancur?
First of all, just let me say to Harry, you go on as much as you like, mate.
Yeah, well, you carry on, Harry. We like listening. Yeah.
Go on, you get excited.
Thank you.
It's all about.
I do waffle sometimes.
Look, the first thing I want to say is that I'm not surprised at how well we're doing, because I said last season we had a very, very good core of players. It needed a few more sprinkled in there for us to go that one level above. And look, I'm not putting Ange down. You know what I think of Ange winning that trophy, but this manager's a completely different type of manager. He doesn't leave any stones unturned, you know, and he works with the players individually as well as when they're in their groups. He's just a fantastic manager, Kate. And I said it on our stream yesterday, I think it was. I wouldn't swap him for anybody. I wouldn't. I just love this guy. I think he's just the exact coach that this club needs. You know, he's made a mistake against Bournemouth. I bet you don't see him make that mistake again. He'll learn from it. You know, where with Ange, he did make mistakes, but he didn't seem to learn from them. You know, where this guy's completely different. But yeah, I think he will play Bentancur, to answer your question. I think he will go in. I think he rested him on purpose for this game. You know, Palhinha will probably be on the bench, and if we need him, he can bring him on, and if he doesn't, he can rest him for the next game. We've got quite good strength in depth at the minute, you know.
Yeah.
So, which is when you're looking at 2 weeks before the window ended, everybody was on meltdown and panicking, and I did say everybody's got to calm down. Right, there's still 2 weeks left. We can still bring them players in, and we did. We brought them in, and we look a completely different squad now with them few players he's brought in.
Yeah,
Got to do the same in January though.
Yeah, I think the key is we've got a, you know, this window we bought in only 4, but real good quality players that walk into the first team. I think it's more quality than quantity that we need to be looking for in every window. And obviously with Daniel Levy's departure, we may see that, but the lineup is out. I'm just getting it ready to share it. It took a little while to come on my screen. A lovely big picture of Mickey van der Ven. That's always nice. He is a very handsome young man. But here is your team to face at Villarreal tonight with a lovely picture of Mickey van der Ven that you can't see. But we've got Vicario in goal, then Xavi Simons, Richarlison does start, Bergvall, Romero, Kudus, Porro, Spence, Sarr, Bentancur and Van der Ven. So really exactly what we expected. On the bench, we've got Kinski, Austin, Danso, Palhinha, Udogi, Gray, Johnson, Odegaard, Davis, Colomawani, Scarlett and Byfield. Harry, what are your first thoughts looking at that lineup?
Yeah, really happy. I think you said it just there, Kate. You're spot on. No real surprises in there. And I was going to say before it was announced that Bentancur coming in makes sense. And I was listening to what Frank was saying. He basically, without making it crystal clear that Bentancur and Richarlison were rested rather than rotated, so make of that what you want. So no big surprise in there. I mean, Moani from the start, of course, would have been nice to see him, but I just think that it's very difficult for a player that hasn't been in training a lot, has been through a few injury periods as of late, to throw him straight in from the start. No, he probably couldn't play any more than an hour. I think it's never going to really happen. I just will say, and I know it's a little bit unrelated to the team, well, slightly, I hate the number order. I'm sure there's reasons why they do it, but it's just really confusing. I'm trying to think, right, okay, does that mean we got to, 10? I'm just trying to think in my head. I know don't give too much away, but it's incredibly frustrating. But I'm happy with the team. I think that should be, good enough to hopefully get our campaign off to a win.
Yeah, I agree. And the numerical thing is driving me insane. It completely throws me every time. Few people in the chat, Jimbo, are saying that it's crazy to be playing Xavi. I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, I fully expected him to start, and I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are. Whether you agree with the chat or
no, I think he should be in there definitely. He needs some game time, and he's got Champions League experience as well, even though he's only 22. And Moani has got quite a good injury record. I think he's only been injured twice in his career, and they've been really pathetic injuries, nothing serious. So he's quite good with his injury. I mean, it might change now he's at Tottenham, we'll see. But,
don't say it.
But yeah, it's nice to see. I tell you what, I really am pleased about is seeing Spence in there. Yeah, because I think he deserves to be in there for the first Champions League game because he's been one of our best players, and I'm really pleased that he's put him in and not your doggy. So, but look, I think it's what most of us expected that team with Richarlison in and Bentancur in.
Yeah, look, I actually thought Udogi would start tonight. Thought he might give Spence a bit of a rest, but I agree with you. I think Spencer's been incredible so far this season, and Sarr as well. Definitely two of the most improved players that we've seen. Bergvall gets in again, Harry. I mean, I've been told off for the last 12 months for bigging this guy up too much and gassing over him, but I think we've got an absolute superstar on our hands with Bergvall, and I thought he was incredible the other day. What do you feel about him?
I mean, it's hard to think otherwise. I mean, I'd like to know who is thinking otherwise and saying otherwise, because Bergvall is a top player, and I never like to get excited about our own players. I think it's very easy to kind of get into this bubble. You think, oh yeah, we've got the best young players, this, that, and the other. But I think it's a good case when it comes to our team that we've got some really special young players. Bergvall's got to be at the very heart of that, very point of the diamond, if you like, and. There was just some of the stats that he broke, even just against West Ham, were really impressive. Of course, you've got your, say, basic. They're still important in terms of first Premier League goal for Spurs and his 50th appearance. But, up there with records that Dele Alli set back in the likes of 2015. You've got another stat. I can't exactly remember what it was, but in terms, I think he's the first Tottenham player to get a goal and assist in the game for a good period of time. I think we're talking 30, 35 years. So Bergvall setting the records straight and achieving good things. And we know what he's capable of. And he really showed that for me against West Ham when the shackles are off and he's allowed to do a little bit more. Sometimes I look at him and I think release the pass a bit earlier or come on, back yourself a little bit more on the ball. But that would just come with it with time. So, no, I really, really like it. I think he's got a lot to bring, a very, very bright future. So, long may he continue in the team. And that's the thing. We all want to see him in the team, but we also got to understand for his development. He'll probably come in and out. We've got a lot of midfield options. But no, I can totally understand, Kate, while you're on the Lucas Bergvall train. He's amazing. And he speaks so well as well, really mature for his age.
Yeah, and when we went on the tour, we spoke to a lady that works there, and she said he's such a lovely kid. She said he's one of the nicest kids that you'll ever meet. But I mean, Jimbo, we were absolutely raving about him after the game. I thought him and I thought Romero particularly stood out, those two against West Ham. But do you think we're wrong to sort of get overexcited about this guy?
Well, the lady who said that, she did actually say that Levy was a really nice guy as well.
She did say that.
No, look, people say I go over the top, right? But that's what football's about, right? We might be content creators. I'm just some muppet sitting in a chair talking about the team I love. And I'm going to get excited. And look, if you can't get excited over players like Bergvall, I mean, football's not for you as far as I'm concerned. I watch football because it's my passion. I've got apart from you and William, I've got no other passion in my dog eye. But no other passion apart from Tottenham, right? And I get excited and I see this kid on the ball and the things he does. I mean, he done one thing the other day against West Ham where he ran back and got the ball back and slotted the ball through three players to our forward line to go on the attack. I mean, it gets me going, stuff like that, watching it. And he's a great player and he's going to get us off our seats. And I'm sure tonight I'll be screaming his name at the telly. He's a great footballer, Kate, and he's going to be an absolute legend of this club. I'm convinced if he stays here, he'll be a legend of this club.
Yeah. Big up to Seb A or Seba, however you want to say it, for becoming a new member. Thank you very much on behalf of Ben and Sim. We will just have a look at the Villarreal lineup because there's some familiar faces. You've got Junior in goal, Foyth, rings a bell. Then you've got Mikatadze, Vega, Santi CV, Marino, Buchanan, Gaye, Pepe, obviously ex-Arsenal, Iose and Cardona. No Thomas Partey in the starting lineup. I was looking for their subs and for some reason I can't find them. But it was rumoured that Thomas Partey was definitely going to be starting. But I mean,
probably an handcuff somewhere.
Anyone there, Harry, that concerns you? I mean, obviously we saw Pepe at Arsenal. We had Foyth with us. I think Manor Solomon's not there either.
I've just got the substitutes here. If you don't mind, read out a couple because you've got Solomon who's there and Thomas Partey is on the bench as well. Okay. So there's a couple. The rest, to be honest with you, are no one that really stands out to me. I think that's Who's that there? Yeah, there's not too much there. But in terms of the team, Kate, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Nicolas Pepe, if people don't remember, they should remember. What was it, £72 million Arsenal threw at him? I mean, I hate to use the word flop, way overused in football terms, but I think it's applicable in this case. Juan Foyth as well. I just really respectful what he had to say before the game, but how he was forever grateful for Tottenham, giving them that European pedigree, giving them that opportunity. And I think we forget he was quite a key player at times. Of course, not saying a world beater or anything like that, but he was a very useful asset nonetheless. So no, that Villarreal team's good. If I'm honest with you, I don't think it's quite as good as in recent years in terms of their squad depth, but the difference is their 11 might be a little bit better, having keep an eye on them since I knew that we drew them. So no, there's in terms of like threat, Pepe, all jokes aside, he'll want to score against Tottenham like with any ex-Arsenal player, so you just got to be careful. And we're going to have to be at our best no matter what opponent when it comes to Champions League. We don't know the teams as well that aren't, of course, in the Premier League. We don't play quite as regularly. So it's still a big performance needed by Tottenham. And I can't express enough how important it is that we start with a win for everything, for confidence, for the points, etc. So that Villarreal team, there's names in it that will cause us problems, but I believe that, we can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Tottenham fans, myself included, were looking at Mikatadze, saying they'd like him at Spurs. I mean, there's some decent players in there, Jimbo, but I mean, personally, I think when you look at their squad, we should have enough to beat them. I don't know what you think.
We can beat any team on the planet, Kate, if we play well. If this team plays well, we can beat any team on the planet. We showed that against PSG. It was only at that time we never had a deep enough bench, which we've got now. Right? If we'd have had a deeper bench, we could have made some changes and we could have seen the game out. But we've got a fantastic squad, and there's no team in Europe that we can't give a game to, on our day. So if they come out there and they're up for it, which I'm sure they will be, then we should win this game. Jimbo, can we win the Champions League? Of course we can win the Champions League, Billy. What are you talking about? Europa League last year, this year Champions League. Come on.
We was watching Sky Sports tonight, and I can't remember which pundit it was, but he tipped.
It was a European pundit.
Yeah, he tipped Tottenham to finish in the top 8 of the Champions League, like to get through to the last 8.
He thinks we're going to have a good run in the Champions League. I think we will as well.
Look, you've got to be in it to win it. If you're in it, you can win it. I think the key, which is a really stupid statement in a way, but the key to us progressing is keeping our key players fit. I mean, if we lose a Van der Ven or Romero, I know we've got Danso, but it's still not of the same quality. I mean, I think our defensive structure or our back four with Vicario in goal as well. I don't know about you, Harry. It looks as strong as it's looked for years. I really, we're keeping clean sheets for a start. To think that the amount of goals we leaked last year and yet how solid we're looking defence this year. I mean, do you agree we've got to try and keep these key players fit?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Van der Ven, Romero in particular. Of course, the whole team's important, the whole back line's important, but those two, I mean, what a partnership that is. And I think there's some players that we probably slightly overrate, not only now, but have in the past. But in terms of Romero and Van der Ven, I mean, what a partnership that is. And I think that's up there with the very best, if not the best right now. And I believe that. I really do. You've got the pace of Van der Ven and you've got I'm not saying Van der Ven isn't world class, but I think Romero, for me, is just absolutely insane. He's got everything in his game, leadership, leading by example on and off the pitch, and it's just genuinely fantastic player, offensively and defensively. Van der Ven getting better and better. Pace is so key. So no, they're amazing together, and you're absolutely right. But the more negative side of me looks at that and goes, if we get one injury in that defence, I'm personally concerned. As much as I'm happy with the transfer window, we've signed well, I cannot get my head around still to this day how we go into this season with just 3 fit centre-backs. And people will be very quick to say to me and jump at me and say, Dragson's back in training. But Frank's words were, he's just under 2 months away from returning. And that was only last week. That massively concerns me because if Romero pulls up, for me, we've got a problem. We've got a real problem, especially actually if a left-sided centre-back. Let's say Van der Ven pulls up, then we've got a real issue. Danso, steps in. He could probably do a job there. And people go, Davis can play there. Archie Gray can be there. We can't achieve the aim. That pundit mentioned of getting to the last 8 of the Champions League or any aims that we have for this season, if you're relying on Gray and Davis, no disrespect, both decent players in their own way, especially Gray, but not a centre-back. That's the problem I have.
Not in the same league, Harry. You're right. They're not in the same league as our centre backs now.
No, I mean, the drop down in quality if we lose one of those two. I mean, I was listening to the Irish Hotspur the other day. Dave said that Christian Romero is the best passing centre back in the world, I think he said. There's always this question of who's better, Saliba and Gabriel or Van de Ven and Romero. I think what I like about Van de Ven and Romero is that they're so different and yet they work so well together. And they do remind me of Toby and Jan from back in the day. But the drop in quality, if we do lose one of them, is absolutely massive. But, we will see at the end of the day.
I think, Kate, the way we play this season, it won't bring on so many injuries as last season. But I also think that Frank's a very, very smart manager. He's very astute. I think that he'll manage these players well. I don't think you'll see Van de Ven and Romero in every single game, especially when Dragusin comes back. But look, Danso, for me, he's top draw, Danso, and he just have to adjust the way we play a bit if he has to come in, But he's a very, very good defender. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the lineup, I'm guessing Bergvall maybe in the 10 and Xavi playing on the left. I mean, is this what you see, Harry? I mean, that's what I'm guessing from the numerical lineup.
I know. Oh, don't. Honestly, I could spend all day moaning about that. And it's something really little. And I'm sure, well, there must be a reason for it, you guess. But I don't think you can justify doing it. But either way, no, I do agree with you. I think it'll be probably, well, you say that, Sarr might be in that 10. It's difficult to know, to be totally honest with you, because I think we've seen Sarr more often than Bergvall in that 10. Yeah. I think Sarr's done okay. My only concern was, and I'm not saying this was a problem, I'm no expert or tactician, but against Bournemouth for me, Sarr was ridiculously high. In fact, the majority, because I was at the game myself, and the majority of the time he was actually in front of Richarlison, which I thought, it felt like a front two, or it was like a false nine at times. It's really interesting to see. And when we didn't have the ball, he just looked so open, and it felt like Bournemouth already had that extra man. So maybe that's what Frank speaks about when he says, we made a mistake. Because he said the players were left exposed. I don't really know what he meant by that. Could have been that. So it's hard to know. And Bergvall, the whole conversation will be, is he an 8 or is he a 10? One thing I certainly know without answer that question is that Bergvall's a really good player on the ball, and I like Bergvall the best when he drops a little bit deeper, puts his foot on the ball, controls the game, outside the foot pass. He has that kind of in him to drop deep and help out. Frank said he wants to see more of that. I think we're in a situation where Bergvall can play both as well. I'm not going to sit here and go Bergvall's just an 8 or just a 10. I think he's a player that can play both. I'm not necessarily sure what his best position is. Right now, I'd probably say an 8, but I don't 100% know that. He's got both to do. That's how good he is at his age, to be able to, for me anyway, comfortably play both. And you can say the same about Sarr. How important's he been this year? Sarr can play the 10, he can play the 8, comfortable. I'm going to be totally honest with you here, Kate, before we do move on. I looked at Sarr at the start of the season and went, I like him, great box-to-box midfielder, energetic, very key for the squad. But what's his kind of niche? What's his difference maker? What makes him say that he should be picked over Bentancur or head of a new signing, let's say? And he's really proved me, and I'm sure plenty of others, wrong as well. And I never necessarily doubted him, but I wanted to see more, of what he can do. And fair play to him, because he's been very, very good and now starting to chip in with the goals. Got so many in pre-season for Tottenham. Scored an international duty as well. Scored for us recently against West Ham. So the performance is getting better. The goals are getting there. So I'm really happy, Kate, the whole team, as well as that midfield. Plenty of options, which is great. And I will say, very happy with the window in terms of the players we brought in. I know I moaned earlier, and I'm still disappointed the club didn't go that little bit further. But, that's Tottenham for you. But what we did bring in was good.
Would you go as far, and say, looking from pre-season to now, Sarr could be potentially the most improved player under Thomas Frank?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that'd be a very, very fair shout at this moment in time. I think there'll be others that will really progress as the season goes on. There's been others that have been very good. I think Romero, I wouldn't say he's been the most improved in terms because he's always been good, but he looks very, very good. So no, Vicario as well, I think was one that won't get the mention that he deserves. And I've been very critical of him. And I was like, really, if we need to go to the next level, I like Vicario. Do we need a little bit further than that? I don't think so at this moment in time. Certainly not for now anyway, because Vicario has completely changed his game under Frank. And Vicario could have acted quite negatively to that. And I love someone like Hugo Lloris and these goalkeepers we've had, but I think they would have thrown their toys out the pram just a little bit. If they had a new manager come in and they've been the team before and said, yeah, I want you to play a different way, I know you're not used to this. And Vicario, you've got to remember, isn't usually, well, I didn't think comfortable with catching, with distribution, and Frank's completely changed his game. And you see that we get a free kick just for the halfway line. Yeah. As long as it's in our half, Vicario's taking it. And I just like it, long balls occasionally. And it's not like direct football and a kind of hoof, as the opposition fans would call it, against any team. It's not that. It's, play out from the back. But when we're being pressed and in danger, go long. And I like that. Under Ange, it felt like you could have 6, 7 players run at you. You could have 1 or 2 Tottenham players. We just play out the back for the sake of it. Principle. Let's look good. Sometimes you've got to go, we're going to concede here. We're in trouble here. Let's go long. Or at the same time, you've got Richarlison on, hold the ball up. Moani, we've got, Solanke when he's back. You just got to use your common sense a little bit and do what's best to win you games. I think Frank does that, and he will adapt while also keeping his belief of attacking. So, no, absolutely. To answer your question, I think he would be the most improved Pat Matasar. Very, very impressed with him. I'd actually go as far as saying we've got to a point where his position in this team's locked in. I think when Frank goes through the team sheet, right or wrongly, I think Sarr's probably the first or second name on it. Probably. I think he goes personally. He goes a goalkeeper, 2 defenders. Then I think he goes Sarr. I think he's that important. I think he's the first midfielder on the team sheet. And that's really impressive. So full credit to him. He's been very, very good. Yeah,
I agree. And I think he's playing with that bit of confidence as well, which is obviously, he's going for shots, he's scoring, he's doing the things that, a lot of people sort of said, oh, he's a great athlete. He runs around a lot, but doesn't do much else. But I think he's proving everybody wrong with what he's doing. Going back to Romero, I'm going to go to Jimbo on this in a minute. Jimbo was absolutely convinced last season that Romero would sign a new contract, and I thought he would go. I accused him of sort of having his head turned, and I sort of said Romero's not that interested in the team. Jimbo was right. He has signed a new contract. He's taken the role of captain. He didn't get fat. He seems to have tamed his game down, didn't do any fouls, didn't get any yellow cards. Jimbo, how impressed are you with the change around from Romero? Do you see that he's really took the role of captain on his shoulders, and he seems to have calmed his game down? Do you think that a lot of that's to do with the fact that he's got so much faith in Van der Ven and they know they can clean up after each other? What's your thoughts?
Thinking, Kate, is I think too many people listen to too much outside noise where I don't do that. That's why I don't panic with the window when there's still 2 weeks left, and there was a lot of talk. Was it him coming out and saying it? No, it wasn't. It was just they've got to make news, and Tottenham do seem a team that they like to stick the boot into. I didn't ever think he was going, and I was confident he'd sign a new contract. He said on his interview yesterday that he had no intentions of ever leaving. He never asked to leave. And he loves Tottenham. He loves his country, playing for his country, and he loves playing for Tottenham. So, he's here, and I think he'll end his career here. And what was your question?
I said, are you impressed with how he's taken on the role of captain? He seems to have tamed his game down. He doesn't really go in for those reckless challenges anymore.
Well, that was the question. One of the questions they asked him. And he said he won't change his game. He said, it's my game. What you want me to do, not be me, which is exactly right. But you're right. It does look like he has calmed down a little bit. He's got a lot of responsibility now being captain of this club. So he has to be one of the top guys now, and show the way for the others.
Yeah.
I just, I'm so pleased he stayed. I am. He's a massive, massive part of this club.
Yeah, I agree. And like I say, I was wrong about Romero. I'm quite happy to put my hands up and say I was wrong. With regards to Pedro Porro, another one, a few people have been speaking about saying, he runs the risk of being overplayed. He was one of the ones who seemed to be injury-proof under Ange, but he does seem to be playing every game. But at the same time, Harry, he's playing fantastically at the minute. I mean, do you worry that he's going to be one of the ones who may suffer not necessarily from an injury, but do you worry that he gets played too often?
No, I'm not concerned. Of course, he's playing a lot of games, but we've got Jed Spencer who can slot in there. A doggy's back. If a doggy was injured right now, I would be concerned, but he's not. So Frank will know the state of his players, and it's important to remember that our injury record, how bad it was under Ange, and I think we're gonna see hardly any injuries this year. And I hope this doesn't come back to bite. I really, really do, because touch wood, absolutely, got wood. There you go, literally. But no, I think it's really important that we do keep players fit. We want everyone fit, but in particular these key players, because that's cost us ultimately under Ange. If you don't have a Romero and Van der Ven, in my opinion, other than that, it's peanuts behind them. And there's no disrespect to any other players, but at Tottenham, you've got this and still now really, really good 11. But there's a big gulf in quality, that big gap, and that gap got smaller. I'll give the club credit. And the aim of every transfer window is to improve your squad. We absolutely done that. We improved our squad and we improved our first 11 by about 3 or 4 players. When has Tottenham done that? So I can sit here and moan about what we haven't done, but to be fair, we have done well. We have done very, very well. But Porro is a player that can potentially be overplayed, but I'm not worried because Spence is there, and I think Jed Spence can do a fantastic job at left back or right back. I think we probably need to get to a situation where we go, what is Spence's best position? Okay, mate, you can play both, but where are you best at? Where can we get the most out of you? I still deep down believe right back, because very, very occasionally he'll make the odd mistake, and literally the odd 1 or 2 across the whole time I've seen him there in that position. And that's because when he's shifted on his non-favour side, it's very difficult for him. And like when he's being pressed and he's like stuck, I remember, I think it's Bayern Munich where we saw that, world-class opponent. So something to consider, PSG coming up, Dortmund coming up, how can we help Spencer, giving him covering on that side, putting him at right back. So I think, in my opinion, Spencer's playing his kind of second position that he wouldn't want to necessarily be playing in, but he's done a great job. I think Spencer's probably thinking in his head, might need to adopt that left back role, because Porro is doing very well, and that's my most easiest way to get in the team. Because I think the lineup's reflecting it, because the doggy's back and pretty much up to speed. Well, nearly up to speed, you'd think now, not completely. And I think Frank sees Spence as his left back and Porro as his right back. That's what I think he sees at the moment. And we've got to a point where Spence, for me, has to be in that, out the two, has to be in there somewhere in that defence, has to be either side of the fullback. And his name will probably be, in my opinion, is the first fullback on the list. But Frank might think Porro. So it's very good to have 3 good fullbacks. So no disrespect to Ben Davies, but I don't think, it's very harsh to say and thinking of it, but sell by date for me, that's gone. I think he's past that, unfortunately. I'd like to keep him around the dressing room, whether he to complete his coaching badges to help players settle in. You need someone like that. Brentford have just signed Henderson. Okay, played a world-class pass to, set up Sharda to score the other day, but I don't believe he's purely in there for footballing ability. They could have signed anyone for that position. I think he's in there for experience and to help people settle. And Brentford is a club that has experienced so much instability and change, like Tottenham have in different ways this summer. Brentford, arguably even worse in terms of players. Henderson brings you that experience and helps to calm the kind of fan base, and just is a general kind of soother, if you like. And I think was really important here. But Porro hopefully stays fit. It'll be very, very key. And Davis, I like that he's kept around in a way, but I don't really. For me, he should be the 5th fullback we kind of have. As a backup. It shouldn't be kind of backup left back. But hey ho, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Kate, just let me say, I agree with one thing you said there, Harry, and I disagree with one thing you said. Right? I think Spence is best at left back. When I watch him play, I always think that he looks a lot more accomplished player at the left back. I don't know why. We see different things. Yeah. But I think he looks really comfortable left back. But the thing I agree with you with is Davis. I think they've kept him on purpose. Not.
Oh yeah,
Not to play too much football, but to be there behind the scenes. I think they've got plans for him for the future off the pitch, because he's Tottenham through and through. So I agree with you there. I think they've kept him for a reason.
I totally agree with you, but it shouldn't stop us from me signing that fullback. I'm very happy what we've done this window, and it's probably a January issue, if anything. But for me, it shouldn't be a case of Davis. I'm not saying he necessarily is, although he could be, is like the reason we're not going out there and signing a left back. Because I think we'd all know if Davis wasn't at the club, they'd feel a little bit of pressure to do something. I think for me, he's there purely to make up the numbers. It's, okay, we've got 4 good fullbacks. But I like Davis. And, you know what, I think in some, maybe a lower down Premier League team or in the right cup competition, Doncaster Rovers coming up, perfect game for him. But I think at his age, whether it be centre-back or left-back, I just don't think he's got it. Maybe centre-back even more, I'd argue, that he's got it in out of those two. I think we might have to convert him to a centre-back because can you imagine him at left wing coming up against, your Maus or your Dembélés or whoever it's going to be. It just absolutely scares me. I'd rather have Gray back in defence. But no, all jokes aside, Davis, it's important to not be disrespectful here. He's done a lot to the club. I'm sure he's here for the right reasons. But the general point is, if we want to go to that next level, because we all make jokes about, we want to win the Champions League, won't happen this season, but if we want to achieve it in the next few years, this is the type of things we need to be looking at. Okay, we have 3 really good fullbacks. We need 4, plus maybe additional backup or centre-backs. We want more. Look at Arsenal, 6, 7 really good centre-backs. There's a problem to that. You can have too much depth. I'm a believer that you can go too far. I think with Arsenal, we've seen it in the past with the goalkeeping situation. I'm going to use them for a couple of examples here. Centre-back situation, I think Ken Capé, to be honest with you, and someone like that gets really annoyed at the end of the season and probably leaves or threatens to leave over getting not a lot of minutes. You've got to get that balance. A lot of competitions, a lot of minutes. But I just feel with us, I think we were prepared if we get injuries now in that striker position or if we get injuries in the goalkeeping position. But if you said to me, like, Xavi Simons gets injured or I don't know, Paulinho, I think we've got cover there. It's not too bad. But the general point is most of the defence, you just go, what's plan B? And I think the club mean well and do well, but you can't be achieving, old Levy's aim, he's gone, of win the Premier League and Champions League if you just got a squad that it will manage, but isn't prepared for these type of situations. But I am still happy with the window, but you can always do more if you want. That's the thing. We want to close the gap. You close the gap by being different, going that one extra step. Instead of fans saying we're satisfied, we should be saying, wow. That's the difference. And that's what Arsenal and Liverpool fans have done this window. We've gone great. They've gone, wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Well, look, they've started well by bringing the players they brought in this window. So I think in January they'll do the same again, bring in some quality players in the positions we need. So I think we're on the right path, and we can win it this year, Harry.
Jimbo,
if we get through
maybe.
This stage, if we get through this stage, right, then it's one-off games. So why can't we win it?
Oh, I was actually going to say, Jimbo, obviously Thomas Frank is going to be his first game in the Champions League. Do you think there'll be some nerves there? He seems a very composed guy, and he's taken the step up from Brentford to Spurs in his stride by all accounts. But there's surely got to be a little bit of nerves there. It's a massive night for him, massive night for the club. How do you think he's feeling?
Look, he's been around football for a while now, and he's a professional, and he's going to prepare for this game like he does any other game. He would have studied the opponents, and he'd get us ready. I don't think he'd be nervous, Kay. I think he'd be excited to hear that music, but then when that music stops, it's all business. So no, I don't think he'd be nervous. I think he'd be excited, and I want to show what he can do in Europe. It's his first European game, if I'm correct. In a big competition.
Yeah,
excellent.
There may be the worry. I suppose that is the right word. He's got big boots to fill. We was in a lesser competition last year, the second tier, but we won it with Ange Postecoglou. Not necessarily pretty, but at the end of the day, no one cares whether you win pretty or ugly as long as you win. Harry, do you think he'll be feeling a little bit of nerves?
Deep down, but I think he's cool as cucumber, really. I get the impression with Frank that he's sometimes really calm, but also I think he's that person that when you bring up, like, at the dining table something that's really interesting and is their passion, I think he doesn't stop talking. I think as you say to Thomas Frank, you talk with him about the weather, how's his day been? Very, very quiet, very respectful, professional. People look up to him. But I think when it comes to football, I think he's off. I think he's someone like that. But no, all jokes aside, I think he'll be, of course, in his head, will be thinking, wow, I think he'll hear that Champions League anthem, as Jimbo said himself. I think he'll look up. We'll find out, I guess, if the camera shows it, to the stand and just think, wow, I've kind of made it as a manager. I've done a great job at Brentford, but let's be real, and I like Brentford, very good club, and I always believe that small clubs are looked down on wrongly, but Tottenham is a step up. You know, and it's not about the league finish. People go, he finished 17th. That's not a step up. It's about the stadium. It's about the history. It's about the worldwide attraction, the pull. And, you know, just anywhere you go, this retro Spurs shirt, I could wear it in loads of different parts of the world and it would be recognised, it would be worn, it would be celebrated. That's the difference with Brentford. I'm afraid it won't be. So for Frank, it's a big moment and he's had a really successful but also painful at times managerial career. He's had to be really patient. And there was a point where, you know, I was reading the Athletic report the other day that Brentford were very, very close and they're a patient club to not pulling the trigger, but they were having internal conversations about his future when and results weren't going his way. I think he had 7 or 8 games where they're all like draws. So they stuck with him. And you know, Frank's a manager that coming to Brentford, he started as assistant manager and the manager changed a lot. It took him a while. It's a big moment for him tonight. And I'm very proud that he's our manager. I think he can take us to that next level. I'm not going to sit here because that's not me. And, you know, kind of say, we're going to win the Premier League, we're going to win the Champions League. But I have no doubt that he's going to ensure that we are competitive on all 4 fronts. That's the club's aim. And I think we'll be able to do it.
No, you leave that to me, Harry.
I was going to say,
I'll leave it to you. You're the positive one.
That's not me either.
Tom Scott in the chat has just said he coached in the European League.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Yeah, a long while ago.
I didn't know that. I never knew that.
Yeah, he didn't do particularly well either, but it was a long time ago, and I think he's changed as a manager since then and developed. Yeah, look, Tell, obviously, we haven't got to watch him tonight. There is rumours that Ange Postecoglou is going to come sniffing around Tell in January, which would be rather nice of him. But it is coming to that time where we're coming to the end of the show, which means we need...
Harry, she's ruthless.
Very.
Which means we need your score predictions. Who's going to score? I've got some already. Chris McCoy said it's going to be Spurs to win 3-0. Brian Anthony is saying Spurs to win 2-0. Joey Boy is saying 3-1. Would love to see Xavi and Kudus score. Chance and Cube says, I also think we win 3-1. Richie will score a brace. Manor to come on as a substitute and sadly score for them. XR Art says, I feel a 3-0 incoming. Lee Payne going a little bit more conservative with a 2-2 draw. I did try and look at a head-to-head against us with Villarreal. I could only find one game, which was we
lost.
Yeah, we lost 4-1. I think it was 2010, somewhere around that day. That's the only thing I could find. And yeah, we did lose 4-1. In Contentia is saying Spurs 3-2. Siggy is saying 2-1 Spurs. Ez is saying 4-1 Spurs. Xavi will assist 3, if not 4. Villarreal ain't scoring tonight, 3-0. Going on that one, I'm going to give my prediction tonight. And I have to agree. I actually think we're going to keep another clean sheet tonight. But I am going with a 2-0 win to Spurs tonight. And I am going to go with Richarlison to open the scoring. And did I say Van der Ven? I think I did say Van der Ven when I was talking about it earlier. Van der Ven to get the other goal. To be honest, don't mind who scores as long as we score. 2-1 says Alumna, saying Richie and Porro. 4-3 says Son Master. Wow. Winker Johnson's in the house, says 2-1 Richie braced. 2-0 says Tom Scott. Kudus masterclass. 3-1 Spurs says Raymond. Fiona says 2-0. Scribble Scrabble says 2-1 Kudus and Romero to score. Yes, better with 2-0 than 3-1, but both an option. Villarreal is like Burnley and West Ham. They can't score. 3-0 Spurs. Marios says 4-1 and T Super says 3-1 Xavi, Richie and Kudus. Harry, what are you fancying for the game tonight?
I can't be totally honest with you. I've changed my mind so many times throughout today because I've been thinking about it, really excited about tonight. And I've concluded that I think Villarreal will sit back. I think they make it incredibly difficult for us, but I don't think they're going to pose too much of an attacking threat. Of course, you still have to be cautious. And when I say we need to watch out for Villarreal, I'm talking about the counter-attacks. I could be wrong. I think that's the way they played. I watched them the other day. Well, I watched the highlights the other day and analysis from a kind of Spanish review, and it's really interesting to listen to. But I think they will counter, but defend deep, and protection from midfield. I think Partey, unfortunately, will come on later and will probably offer that security as well to the defence. What do I think in terms of score prediction? I'm going to go with a probably really conservative, but I still think it's a win. 1-0 Tottenham win. Richarlison.
I'll take that all day long, to be perfectly honest. So conservative or not, I'll take a 1-0, and another clean sheet would be nice. Jimbo, Mr. Optimistic, what's the score going to be tonight, and who's going to
3-0.
score? How many?
3-0.
3-0 to Spurs.
Yeah.
And who's going to score for the mighty Spurs tonight?
Javier scored tonight, Richie has scored tonight, and I think Romero a score from a corner.
Lovely. I love it. And hopefully this one won't be disallowed, because that was an absolute daylight robbery. I mean, Harry, you touched on it earlier. I literally don't even know what to say, because I don't understand how that was disallowed. I mean, what was your thoughts on that?
No, nor do I. Just to give people context, in terms of me personally, I'm always someone that hates criticising the officials, and I absolutely have to. And of course, they're annoying, right? And so is VAR. But I always think focus on yourself. That's my belief in anything in life, but in particular with football and Tottenham. But in this case, you just got to look at it and go, glad it didn't affect the game, but we'd all be talking about it if we weren't so good. And it shouldn't have to be that case. And that's what's frustrating here. And I look at it and go, I think the referee's made an on-field mistake. And VAR's there for clear and obvious errors. It's where you draw the line. It's very difficult. And VAR causes problem, or referees cause this problem, should I say, for themselves, where they don't make it clear what clear and obvious is. And we've got to a point where so many things are being overturned or given that aren't clear and obvious, that something like this, for me, I would say is clear and obvious, because at first I saw it and I thought, oh, it's a 50-50. How is that been disallowed? But when you see it back, if anything, I should think that could be a Tottenham penalty, which you don't give because the goal goes in. Let's be honest with you here. And I'm looking at it, and Van der Ven's getting two hands in the back. And okay, there is contact to Walker-Peters. If we just focus on Van der Ven fouling, I think it was Walker-Peters, correct me if I'm wrong, that is a foul. But he's pushed first. And my point is, if you look at it, Van der Ven's doing it for stability. He's pushed and he kind of balances. And I don't think he means to do what he does to Walker-Peters. And then he's finding himself in a kind of sandwich. So for me, that's a situation where the referee should go, if you're not sure, which surely he wasn't, unless he's just seen that part. I reckon he's just seen that part. But for me, you leave it. I know you shouldn't be lazy, and we do criticise them for being lazy, but that's what VAR are there for. But I think it's a case of, if the referee had given the goal or not intervened at all, which would have meant goal, the VAR leave it as it is. That's the problem. But they're so worried about offending the referees, or as I call it, offending their mates, or as others will call it, should I say. But I think it's more a case of they overturned too much in recent years, and now they're doing the complete polar opposite. For me, that is clear and obvious. I've been totally honest, deep down, very frustrating.
But you know, the other end, Harry, at the other end, Walker-Peters wrestled Van der Ven to the ground, right?
Yeah,
that was all right.
Absolutely ridiculous the way he brought him down, and they don't give a penalty, so it's so inconsistent. If they're going to stop a goal for that, what Walker-Peters done was a lot worse.
Yeah,
But they don't give a penalty. So it's very inconsistent. That's what annoys me about VAR. If they were consistent, right, you wouldn't mind, but they're so inconsistent.
Yeah, they are.
And I'll tell you what, Arsenal just scored, Kate, and the goalkeeper done an honour.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he let it go through his arms.
Martinelli scored, I believe.
Yeah, it was goalkeeper should have saved it. It was coming straight at his body, and he let it go underneath him.
Harry, it's always a pleasure to have you on to listen to your views and thoughts. What's going on over at Harry Scarf at the moment?
First, thank you very much for having me. I always honestly mean this. I look forward to coming on. It's always good fun, and the chat's great, and always a real privilege to come on. Thank you. It means a lot. So what's going on at the channel? Yeah, quite a bit, if I'm being honest with you, more than ever. So we do a lot of, at the moment, Tottenham videos. We're up to 2 podcasts a week, available on YouTube every Monday and Thursday night, 8 p.m, but available multi-platform. You can listen to it after. So 2 podcasts a week, doing a load of different YouTube shorts, providing you with Premier League news, Tottenham news, now doing Spurs women news, which I'm really excited to say. And we'll also be doing Spurs women videos and podcasts, also getting others, because I do watch Spurs women, but there are a lot more people know a lot more about me. So a lot more than me, should I say. So I'm getting people in to have their say with that. But no, honestly, thank you for having me. I do a lot of my own stuff at the moment, but I always like getting on and coming to other channels. And it's nice to be the one not asking the questions and thinking about the questions and answering them and talking Tottenham, which we all love. So no, thank you. Make sure you support this channel, support Kate and Jimbo, their channel too. So thanks for having me, and big up to the chat.
Harry, why do you think I never host?
Exactly. Please do go over and subscribe to Harry Scarf, and also if you want to come over to Kate and Jimbo, we do shows most lunchtimes. 12:30ish, and there's lots coming up, but I can't really remember what they are. But
Yeah, we do
you know,
mental health streams. We do.
Yeah, we do. But just support everyone that's in the Tottenham community, because, you know, you might not agree with everyone, but it's always interesting to hear other people's opinions. So I always say subscribe to everyone. Big up to Seb for becoming a YouTube member. Sim is on in 15 minutes with Ashmatic doing the watch along. So it gives you a chance. This stream will end. It gives you a chance to go and grab a cup of tea or a beer or some crisps or whatever you're going to do before you watch the game. And then you can chill and listen to the watch along with lovely Sim and lovely Ashmatic as well. All that's left for us is to say enjoy the match. We will be back on here Saturday at 1:30 to do the preview for the Brighton game. But hopefully we will get a nice win tonight to start off Thomas Frank and Spurs' Champions League campaign. Enjoy the game, everyone. Thanks again to Harry. Thanks to Jimbo. Thanks to everyone watching. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.